I'm going to explain to you guys what time charts are. If you look at an animation like this, one which I made, this is of shot 7. I have these little notches at the top. What they represent is that the hollow one is the frame before, which is this frame. The dark one, or the thicker one, is the current frame. And these two are where I want the in-betweens to be. So, if you analyze them, that means the first one, because we're reading from right to left, because the hollow one represents the previous frame. So, the first in-between frame will be closer to the first frame than the last. And the second in-between frame. So, this is the previous frame, and this is the next frame. The red is the next frame, but I'm going to change to a different color. Green, bow. And the previous one, I'll make it blue. And I'll turn now up the opacity so it's easier to see. If you guys can, when possible, use copy and paste or use any short or cut any corners that you can, just to save yourself time. It's really unnecessary for me to draw each frame from now on, when I actually very much so could copy and paste them. Except for the eyebrows. The eyebrows change, so I'm gonna delete the eyebrows here and draw them manually, but for the rest I'll just copy and paste them. Okay, so the first one, I want it a bit closer to the previous frame than the next frame. So it would probably be around here. As you know, his head's rotating as well, so I rotated that frame. And the next one is, as you can see here, is closer to the last frame than the previous. So it would probably be around here. No. Like this? No. Like this. Kapow! And don't worry about, oh, well, if I look at this closely, this is compared to the entire length. If this is 1, this is probably 1/8. So I need to make sure that the distance between these two are 1/8. You don't need to be that precise. You don't need to copy the time chart exactly. It's just an approximation. So the first frame is approximately closer to the previous frame, and the second in-between frame is approximately closer to the last frame. You don't need to take it too seriously. So now for the eyebrows as well. I want the eyebrows to follow the same rule. So I want it to be... I usually put this along the direction of movement. So the head is moving this way. So that's why I drew this time chart moving this way. But it applies to it also applies to things that are not moving in that direction. For example, these eyebrows, they're going to be going up. So I will still follow the same rule where the first in-between frame is going to be closer to the previous frame than the last, and the second in-between frame will be closer to the last than the previous. And it'll look like that. And then I'll just do the same with this coat, which is moving. Once again, I'll follow the same rule as depicted by the time chart. First in-between frame is closer to the previous frame than the last, and second in-between frame is closer to the last than the previous. These time charts will change. If you're an in-between artist, then you'll see multiple different ones. For example, in scene 10, it'll be a bit different, which I'll show after I'm done drawing this. Mistake here, I was using the wrong color. For example, I should be using the rough color over here in the bottom right. Instead, if I want to change something to something that's already of a line that's already existing, I would use the select tool, select all the black lines that I just drew because I want to change that color, and just click on rough and they'll change. Okay, so now I'll almost be done. If you look at the animation, you can tell that I didn't actually draw the in-between frames for these parts, the shoulders. That's because they actually remain the same, so I could just copy and paste them instead. And I forgot to change the eyebrow color here. Just an eyebrow for this one. I'm just going to copy and paste it because I can! Now this is what it looks like. Fairly smooth. And this is what you'll be doing if you are assigned it. And this is what you'll be doing if you are assigned an in-between rough animation task. And a lot of people, when they draw a rough animation, they like to. I like to call it hairy lines because it looks kind of hairy. But if they're drawing a face, they might like make it very rough and have like multiple lines at the same time. I don't like that. I think it's a bad habit. I think it's better to improve if you just have one solid line, uh, and that way you learn to get it approximately right on the first try. It also makes it a lot easier for the cleanup artist. So if you're in between rough animator, just have one clean line. Try not to draw multiple lines. If you don't, and you have multiple lines like here, which I did by accident, you will be executed. No, I'm kidding, but don't do it. But for other shots like shot 10, I think I keep saying scene when I mean to say shot, so just keep that in mind. But for shot 10, as you can see, there's multiple time charts. This is a bit more of a complex animation, so either me or some of the more advanced animators will be doing them. Will be doing the rough in between animation. So as you can see, there's a time chart for that's an arc, and there's a time chart that's straight. Usually, when humans move, everything moves in an arc. When you bend your arm, it moves in an arc. When you jump, your knees will move in sort of an arc, but your body will move straight. So that's why I have an arc here. That's for the hand. So this is it right hand? I think no, it's the left hand. Okay, so the right hand over here is right now is inside his coat, but I want it to move out in an arc like this, so that's why the time chart is an arc, and I also want the body to move back in with the in-between frame closer to the last frame than the first. So that's why there's two different time charts, because two components of the character are moving in a different direction. And over here, it happens again. The right arm swings all the way down, so there's a time chart for that. It's a sort of an arc as well. The left arm goes up a bit higher, but in more of a, but not too much. So that's why there's a different time chart to represent that movement. Right foot steps down, left foot comes up. So there's different time charts for those. If you ever have any trouble with the time charts and you don't really understand them, like if I were to look at this one, this time chart over here, this short one, and I don't know, oh, is it supposed to represent the left foot or the right foot, or is it supposed to represent the cape? You can just ask me and I'll tell you, oh, it's supposed to be the left foot. It starts higher and it's going to arc down like that with a in-between frame pattern as shown by the time chart. That's it. Lesson's over.